Shalom, Kol Halo Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us His truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect, Tabernacle of David. The brother Yahshua back with a World War III daily update. And we're just going to look into some of the things that may or may not be going on. All right. But first, you got to understand that World War III, right, is about God forcing these nations and their armies to fight each other and then eventually be ambushed by God's army, who are the angels, right? The Archangel Michael and the angels that are in those chariots, right? That people like to call UFOs and try to explain them away when they've been here going all the way back into antiquity. They were there at the very beginning, okay? The Spirit of God hovered over the deep, all right? So they were there at that moment, all right? So anyway, this is 2nd Ezra 13 and 29, all right? Behold, the days come when the Most High, that's God, whose name is Yahweh, will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth. What do you mean, deliver them? That means right before the world experiences mutually assured destruction, all right, somebody is going to be delivered, meaning saved, if you will, rescued from that nuclear annihilation, all right? Read that again. Behold, the days come when the Most High God will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth. And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. Not to the men of the Lord that know. We know this story. We know what's going to happen. All right? But these are the things that are going to happen right before mutually assured destruction. And one shall undertake to fight against another. All right? Well, let's see who. One city against another, okay? Moscow against Kiev, if you will. One place against another, that's an easy one. One people against another. Why are they making race-specific or DNA-specific biochemical wars over there? That's one people against another. That's warfare. Okay, and what about this right here? And one realm against another. What is that realm? Well, you got the spiritual realm and you got the physical realm. You got the third dimension, 3D, if you will, and you have the fourth dimension, which is the spiritual world. Okay, this is talking about the angels when the angels get involved in World War III. All right. First of all, we start here. Behold, the days come when the Most High, where's the Most High? Most High is in the spiritual world. Okay? So we're already dealing with angels. This is God. All right? We're already dealing with, this is God's show. He's not involved. His armies aren't involved. His son is not involved. Okay? Now it's going to mention his son. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And at that time, when these things shall be, Salah, Salah, let me start again. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen which I showed thee before. What are those signs? Those are the prophecies coming to pass. Okay? And then shall my son, Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, be declared. Well, we're declaring him right now. Whom thou sawest as a man ascending. Going back up here, right? This is where he was ascending. All right. In his chariot. All right. All right. So there's the Son. And when all the people hear his voice, whose voice? Yahweh Shai, every man shall in their own land leave the battle. What battle? World War III. They have one against another. So it's going to go from all the nations of the world fighting each other, their armies. It's going to go from that to them saying, wait a minute, let's stop fighting each other and let's fight against the angels and the one you call Jesus. See, they don't tell that story in church. They don't tell the story that all the armies of the world are going to try to fight against the angels and Jesus when he comes back. They don't tell that story. But this is telling you that story. It says, and when all the people hear his voice, right, when they see those lasers coming out of those chariots, every man shall in their own land leave the battle. They have one against another. So don't get tripped up when it says in their own land. That means where they're from, their own country. Not in their country, but the country that they belong to. Leave the battle. How are they going to be fighting each other when they're in their own land? Now, this is talking about the Russians, the Japanese, the Chinese are all going to be fighting each other. Where? In the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the Middle East. They're going to leave the battle they have one against another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together. That means they're all going to come together. They're going to stop fighting each other. They're going to come together as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him. Who's him? The one you ignorantly call Jesus. By fighting. So all the nations of the world and their armies are going to stop fighting each other in World War III and try to fight against the angels and the one you ignorantly call Jesus, right? And that's the end of World War III. Let's get that. This is Revelation 19. Revelation 19, let's start right here. The rider on the white horse. Okay? Revelation 19:11. And I saw heaven opened. Heaven is talking about the sky. The sky opened up, and behold, a UFO. That's what that sat upon him was called faithful and true. It's the one you call Jesus. His name is Yahushua in the Hebrew. Okay? And in righteousness doth he judge and make war. What is Jesus coming back to do? He's coming back to judge and make war. They don't tell you that in church. Okay? His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. We know it now. It's Yahushua. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of God. Who's the Word of God? That's Jesus. And the armies which were in heaven, those are the angels, followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Okay? And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nation. What is that sharp sword? The sharp sword is a laser beam, the finest laser beam ever made. Okay? Now, we'll jump down to 19. And I saw the beast. Who is the beast? NATO, the EU, which includes America. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth. Who's the kings? Boris Johnson, Zelensky, Putin, all of them. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies. What were they? An innumerable multitude was gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse. Who's that? Who's the one that sat on the horse, and against his army, the angels. Want to see what it looks like? Let's see what it looks like. Looks like this. Okay. That's that great war in heaven. See the blue angels right here? Let's go here. Let's go to 12. Revelation 12 and 7. And there was war in heaven. That's in the sky, like this. Okay. That's the war in heaven. Michael, the archangel Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, the great red dragon. And the dragon fought and his blue angels. All right. Where's that? See him? Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his blue angels and prevailed not. What does that mean? That means the dragon and his angels got their ass whooped. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Okay? The great dragon, same guy, was cast out. That old serpent, same guy, dragon, old serpent, the one in the garden, called the devil, same guy, and Satan. When I say guy, I don't mean guy, I mean guys. All right? The nation of Edom, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. They got their ass whooped in this war here. You understand? This is the end of World War III. All right, so anyway, and how is it going to end? Here's how it's going to end. Because God is going to come to deliver them that dwell on the earth. Who is that? The elect of Israel. Revelation 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven in the sky, saying unto them, come up hither. And they, the 1/3, the elect of Israel, ascended up to heaven in a cloud. What cloud? This cloud. They got beamed up right before the mutually assured destruction. They ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there a great earthquake. What is that earthquake? Mutually assured destruction. And the 10th part of the city, what city? Babylon, the great city. All 10 FEMA regions. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. What does 7 represent? Completion. If you didn't get beamed up, Scotty, if you weren't saved, that fire's going to burn your ass up. All right? In the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. And the remnant, who's the remnant? The ones that got beamed up were affrighted. They were scared because they were scarcely saved, and gave glory to the power of heaven. All right? And that's the story. That's the end of World War III right there. All right? The lake of fire, if you will. And it says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe, World War III, cometh quickly. Hey, we're looking at it. Simple. Simple and plain. What did I want to... Oh, let's see. Let's get this. And that's what it's going to look like. Right? When the missiles hit. It's going to look like that. To watch, oh, we're going to watch Canadian Prepper. He's going to give his analysis of what is going on in the war at this point, all right? Just a little update. Where's it at? This thing is moving quite slowly. Let's go here. Commercial, commercial, commercial. It's lucky, bear with me. This is an interesting take on what is going on. So watch this Canuck. The Canuck, what the
Canadian prepper here. Boy, do I have an interesting video for you today. I just got off a Zoom call with somebody who blew my mind with respect to the theory that they put forth about what is going on in Ukraine. I have not heard this theory anywhere else before, and I'm sure that most of you haven't also. Maybe some of you have. But this was very, very compelling to me because it explains a lot about what is going on in Ukraine right now. So you got to stick with me. And if you want more information on this, stay tuned this Saturday because we're going to have a special guest on. And he's probably going to blow people's minds about a lot of fundamental beliefs that they just got wrong about nuclear war, about this war, and everything in between. So you are not going to want to miss this one. Okay, so why is it that Russia doesn't appear to be using all its new equipment? It's Su-57 fighter planes. It's better missile defense systems. It's better tanks. It's more newer, modern tanks. Why isn't it using all its good stuff? Here's his theory. His theory is that Russia expects that the conflict is going to escalate and escalate broadly into the Eastern European theater. And when it does so, Russia is going to need those resources at that time when this thing escalates, okay? This is why Belarus is posturing. This is why Poland is posturing with the whole peacekeeping rub, which is really a guise for getting NATO more directly involved in pulling the U.S. into the war. But he also told me something else. He said that, Russia right now is using Ukraine as a training ground. Okay, so they're seeing what works and what doesn't. Because
that's very interesting.
Remember, they have a bit of experience in Chechnya and Georgia and Ukraine as well for an extended period of time, Crimea, but not in any full-scale, large war sense. And how do you create soldiers? I'm talking about real soldiers. I'm not talking about conscripts and people who've never seen battle. How do you create soldiers? You put them in war. Ukraine right now is a Darwinian free-for-all. It's natural selection at its finest. Who's going to survive and who is not? You take 10,000 guys, the 1,000 who come out, doesn't matter how many you lose in the meat grinder, according to them, of course. You get 1,000 soldiers that come out on the other end. One of those seasoned vets in urban warfare is worth like 10 guys, easily. A guy who's run through the gamut of a war like this and has kept it together psychologically is worth a lot to the Russians. And this is a country who historically has had no problem throwing life at the problem. And we've seen that in the gulags. We've seen that in the what is it called? The road to ruins. I can't remember what it is, but it's a road that was the construction of which cost Russia millions of lives. Russia has no problem exchanging 10,000 guys for 1,000 soldiers. That's what they're doing. They're training them for a bigger war that's probably going to happen because it almost has to happen now. And it would appear that they're reserving their best equipment and maybe even a lot of their best soldiers, for all we know, for that fight, which is bound to ensue. And this is why NATO is scrambling. Okay, we've seen Russia just recently bust out a hypersonic missile, which was clearly to send a message. Okay, that hypersonic missile skirted across Ukraine. Probably either it was undetected, and even if it was detected, you wouldn't be able to shoot it down. and it targeted a military base close to the border of Poland, and it took out a lot of guys. Okay, and it took out a lot of um, equipment as well. And this was to send a message that, look, if we want, we can wipe out all of your missile defense systems that won't really do a whole heck of a lot, anyways. They're only good in theory, and they're easily overwhelmed. But we'll take out all your missile defense systems, your THAAD systems, your the systems that the UK just took out or just sent to. I can't remember if it was Slovenia. It was one of those countries, anyways. We'll take them out, and that we have these weapons. But what they're also trying to do, this is the crux of his theory, is that they're trying to appear weak. They're trying to, and I know this kind of contradicts what I just said about
Sun Tzu. Sound like some Sun Tzu type shit, right?
hypersonic missiles, but this is that was kind of my own twist on the theory, and my theory might be wrong. He thinks that they're trying to appear very weak to bait NATO into a greater war, a greater conflict. The motive for which, the incentive for which, I'll let him explain that on Saturday. But his theory is that Russia is trying to appear very weak so that NATO will start to dump resources into the fight. And in doing so, expose all their weaknesses so that Russia can then, obviously exploit those weaknesses. And in what it is right now, it's like a troop factory for Russia. Okay, they got hundreds of thousands, millions of soldiers in reserves if they needed to, and they're just going to keep sending guys in. And what's going to come out the other side? There's going to be a lot of death and destruction, but the guys who come out on the other side, like I said, they're going to be soldiers, hardened, toughened soldiers, just like these Chechenian guys who are fighting there right now, who have the experience. Okay, they just know their way around an urban combat situation. Yeah, savages for sure, committed probably a lot of heinous war crimes for sure, but it is what it is. And the Ukrainians also, who've been fighting in the Donbass, have years and years of experience in urban warfare. And they also know the Russian way of war well. So maybe NATO is going to end up underestimating Russian capabilities, get pulled into this, and realize, like those guys did with that hypersonic missile, that, oh, this is what modern warfare was about. This is what happened.
All right, that was good enough before we got to go into this commercial. So you get the point, all right? What is the point? Hey, we're in the time of war. Nobody's going to stop this. This is what the Most High wants.
This
is what Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai wants. You got to understand. He wrote this book, all right? Let's see. Let's get this. We'll go ahead and close. I didn't go to 3 and 5. Okay, this is Ecclesiastes 3 and 1. To everything there is a season. Turn, turn, turn. To everything, turn, turn. There is a season. All right? And a time. And a time. What time are we in? To every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born. A time to die. All right? Jump down to 8. Time to love and a time to hate. Got a problem with that one, I know. This is what we're looking for. A time of war. And time of peace. What time are we in? We're clearly in the time of war. How does the war end? Here's the end of the war. First, the extraction, all right? The rescuing of the POWs. Who are the POWs? Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, mainly concentrated on the North American continent and everywhere else where we're scattered, because we are scattered, and they'll be picked up too, the elect of Israel, right? Revelation 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. They were rescued from their imprisonment. And they ascended up to heaven in the cloud, and their enemies beheld. Who are their enemies? The ones that had them locked up. Anybody locked up? Yeah, well, whatever. We'll see who's locked up shortly after this goes down, okay? In the same hour was there a great earthquake. This is how it ends. That great earthquake is mutually assured destruction. All right, nuclear exchanges on both sides. And the 10th part of the city fell. This talks about America. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. So nobody comes out alive unless you were beamed up. All right. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the power of heaven. Now, when I say beamed up, okay, come up hither, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. So you know so much about Jesus, right? Well, when Jesus left the earth after the resurrection, how did he leave? Let's find out. Tell you what, it involves this right here. It's the same way we're going to be extracted, if you will. Acts 1 and 9. And when he, who's he, had spoken these things, that's the one you ignorantly called Jesus. While they beheld, it's about the disciples that he was with, he, who's he, when you ignorantly called Jesus, was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. You see that language? A cloud received him out of their sight. You see that language? That language is this language. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. Same language. Okay, you see that chariot? You see that cloud? Let's tie it all together, and then I'll close. Psalm 104 and 1. Some attributes of the Most High. Yahweh. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty. Who covers thyself with light as with a garment, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot. With that, hope that the elect are edified. Shalom.